and welcome to the Neo News Today podcast. As always, I'm your host for the pod, Dylan. Today, we get a chance to sit down and chat with Kevin Truong, the CEO and CTO of Archon, a decentralized file storage network. Archon publicly introduced their project at Neo DevCon 2, which took place in February of 2019 in Seattle, Washington. Then, in November of last year, I had a chance to travel to San Francisco and got to catch up with Kevin over some coffee to discuss Archon and the Neo ecosystem. Suffice to say, since then, I've been eager to get Kevin to be a guest on the pod. In today's episode, we chatted about what Archon is and how Neo users can interact with the network. We talked about how Archon is building a product that competes with traditional cloud storage service providers and what separates Archon from its competitors. We discuss how Archon is a protocol agnostic product and how they interact with other blockchain protocols, as well as coordinating with native decentralized storage projects like NeoFS. We also talk about why Archon was drawn to the Neo ecosystem initially and why they began to implement support for Neo before any other public blockchain. We also discuss what collaboration with Neo Global Development has been like since they announced their product at Neo DevCon 2 and Archon's upcoming beta launch. Then lastly, we discussed how Archon will offer rewards to users who lease their unused storage on their computers to other users on the network who are willing to pay for that storage. So I hope you enjoy listening to this conversation with Kevin as much as I enjoyed having it. Hey, Kevin, thank you so much for joining the Neo News Today podcast. Kevin Truong is the co-founder of Archon and the CEO and CTO. So how you doing today, Kevin? And can you tell us a little bit about Archon?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. So Archon is building a storage system that has a hybrid centralized and decentralized component. And especially for the Neo users, we have a way for Neo users to, for example, pay to upload their files using Neo tokens into our system. And we also have a way for Neo users to do storage mining and earn Neo tokens using our system as well.
Interesting. So Archon's a distributed file storage network. So there are similar projects and products that are working on this in the blockchain space currently. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what separates Archon from similar competitors in the space.
I would say the main thing that separates us is mostly stems from the fact that because we're going to be focusing on getting, small, medium businesses, enterprise customers, we have a lot of focus on the usability aspects. So for our main product, which is a centralized endpoint, users that want to use us, it'll just be like your familiar HTTP request interface.
Mm-hmm.
We're also Amazon S3 interface compliant. They don't have to worry about managing their wallets or spending crypto to use us because they're interacting with the centralized endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, we're also building a second endpoint, which is a decentralized endpoint for those that are completely blockchain enthusiasts. They want to do everything completely decentralized. They want to make sure it's working, like whether or not Archon survives in the next 10 years. And so for those people, the purely decentralized endpoint works just as well.
So the purely decentralized endpoint will be able to outlast Archon as a company should it be acquired or transition into another vertical?
Yeah, correct.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, and it has all the other features that you would expect from a decentralized storage endpoint. For example, censorship resistance. So the main differentiator between our decentralized endpoint and our other competitors is for one, we have a real time marketplace for our storage miners, um, and we are able to do the file encoding for large files a lot more efficiently than our
Mhm.
other competitors. So the the reason Archon started as a company was because I was able to develop these set of erasure codes, these encoding algorithms that are much faster than anyone else's out in the world right now. And because of that, we're able to deal with large files more efficiently and also more reliably than our competitors.
So you were saying that Neo, the Neo ecosystem will be able to use Neo or Gas to pay for file storage. I'm wondering if what Archon's stance is towards like protocol agnosticism, and when collaborating and integrating other public blockchains, are you only looking at using those native tokens for payment, or also calling other types of smart contracts?
What do you mean by calling other types of smart
Like,
contracts?
will you be integrating other protocols from public blockchains beyond just using those tokens for payment?
Oh, yeah. So we're looking into that. We're currently talking with the Neo guys because they're developing a cross chain solution that would make things much easier. So right now, we our stance is in the decentralized environment. It's good to be decentralized to not hedge yourself with one blockchain because we think blockchain is important, but in the end, it we want to spread ourselves over other protocols, and so we currently have a Neo integration working, as well as an Ethereum integration working, and our stance is we're currently open to working with providing Archon integrations with other blockchain protocols, whether that's done using, if we build three integrations, whether we build three tokens or one tokens, that's still something that we're figuring out, just researching the pros and cons. But we do want to be as decentralized as possible, and that includes across protocols.
Part of the Neo ecosystem right now is Neo FS, which is a
Mm,
native distributed decentralized file and object storage system.
mm.
Um, I'm sure you're familiar with them, that project. So I'm kind of interested to hear from Archon's perspective what the pros and cons are for coordinating with other blockchain projects that are also working on native files, distributed file storage networks as well.
So I wasn't able to get too much information about that project, and I haven't had the chance to look through them as thoroughly.
Hmm.
But in general, for decentralized storage projects that try to be the file system for the blockchain, for example, like Tron has their BitTorrent FS. Um, they're trying to create this file system for smart contracts to store data efficiently and for smart contracts to call the data efficiently. Um, in other words, it's an application level file storage. Whereas for us, for Archon, what we've recently decided was that we're gonna focus less on being a, a, a DApp developer focused application level storage, and more so we're gonna focus strictly to serve users themselves. So we're not gonna be plugged into other dApps, and we're not gonna be plugged into other applications, but we're going to provide storage directly to users, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, So when I was kind of digging through the old Neo News Today coverage of Archon, I came across your co-founder Eric's presentation at DevCon, which took place
Mm-hmm.
in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And in an in-person interview with Neo News Today, Eric had mentioned that Archon's focus is on emulating traditional or centralized cloud service providers UX.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, what are some of the characteristics or functions you and your team have focused on in order to create a competitive, decentralized file storage network that
Mm-hmm.
emulates maybe something more traditional that we see today?
Yeah, so that's where our centralized endpoint comes in. So we've created like a centralized middleman where we act as the middle layer, and we abstract away all of the things like the storage marketplace, the file encoding, how files should be distributed across the miners. So the centralized endpoint handles all of that. And what that means is for end users, they see a very simple storage interface. So they would make an HTTP request, or they can use any of the SDKs or any Amazon AWS client. Like Amazon has the S3 binary
Mm-hmm.
that you could run in your command line. So because we're S3, we have an S3 compliant interface, it would accept those as well. So, which is important because what we notice is that to a lot of companies and small medium businesses, at least in the US, it's very developer focused, API heavy, SDK heavy, and also Amazon S3 pipelines are already built and set up for them. So to us in our centralized endpoint, we make it extremely easy for them to switch over because we have an interface that they're familiar with using the centralized endpoint. And they don't have to worry about things like managing their wallets. They can upload and download using just straight HTTP, which means that they can also view their files straight from the browser. And it should be pretty seamless experience.
Something we had a chance to catch up in San Francisco in November, and when we were having coffee, we had a pretty good conversation surrounding why you chose to start working with the Neo public blockchain first, as opposed to any other public blockchain. So I'm wondering if you could just give like a high level overview for why Archon started working and coordinating with Neo first.
Yeah, yeah. We really so when so during the time that we started, when someone wants to build a blockchain application, their default first thing that comes to mind would be Ethereum because Ethereum being the most popular back then. But what drew us to Neo was the fact that each transactions and function execution within a smart contract seems to be more efficient than Ethereum in two main ways. One is the speed of the confirmation, the transaction confirmation, how fast it takes to confirm that a transaction has passed. And two is the gas cost, which is for Neo, if the transaction is small, it's practically free. And because of those two things, we think it would work well for many storage to use cases, especially if the storage, the use case is many small files.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to upload many small files onto Ethereum, you're going to rack up huge amounts of gas. If you're uploading like 10 million like images or 10 million JSON files, it really adds up. Um, but with Neo, things like small files or things like if you want to upload something that you need quick feedback, quick confirmation, it works really well with Neo as well. So yeah, as a result, we've reached out to the Neo guys, and we're able to form a partnership with them.
So, what have those collaborative efforts and what does that partnership look like as Archon has continued to build its product and
Mhm.
has relied on input and help from the Neo team?
They've been really helpful with lending their engineers, the Neo development teams and engineers to help us work through and build the Neo side application of our application. So we talk to them regularly on WeChat. Currently, we're using Discord, and they're able to help out a lot with our development team.
The Archon roadmap has a testnet and mainnet launch planned to take place in 2020 this year.
Mhm.
And the testnet was tentatively scheduled for launch in the next quarter or two. So I would like to hear a little bit about what the Archon testnet network will look like and what user interaction will look like once that goes live.
Yeah. So we made some developments. We're no longer building our own custom Archon blockchain. We're building straight integrations natively into Neo and also into Ethereum. So what that means is for our testnet, we will have one endpoint, the decentralized endpoint, where users can build from source, compile, run, and it would be a command line binary where they would input their wallet and also the files that they wish to upload, and then it would do the whole uploading process for them. And there's another client for download that has roughly the same process. So when our testnet launches, we'll have the upload client, the download client, and also the storage mining software. All that is our decentralized endpoint. For our centralized endpoint, we will simultaneously roll that out, and that will be the simplified user interface that I was talking about earlier, where you're able to interact with the storage network using HTTP calls. You can upload using HTTP PUT or HTTP post, and then you can download using HTTP GET, all with our centralized interface.
Cool. So beyond launching what your testnet will look like,
Mhm,
maybe what are some steps for Archon for 2020,
mhm.
and maybe how can the Neo community in particular expect to interact with Archon this year?
Yeah, so in terms of what to expect, we're opening our beta, a soft rollout of our beta at the end of this month, and end of January, and I'm hoping it'd be pretty cool because it'd be a way for users to try out our brand new encoding algorithms that are state of the art, that are world class. Um, and just test our system out, stress test it, benchmark it. I'm really excited to see what performance we can pull off. Um, and around Q2 to like end of Q2 of this year, we're expected to launch our full product into the mainnet, both our centralized and decentralized endpoint into the mainnet, and really hoping to see if new users are, for example, they're willing to pay for uploads using Neo tokens, or if they're interested in mining with their storage. I'm sure there are a lot of people that have hundreds of gigabytes or terabytes even of hard drive, and they're not using all of it. It's just sitting there. So wouldn't it be great if they could make some sort of profit, earn tokens by basically doing nothing with their empty storage that they have. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
I think coming from DevCon last March in 2019, when Archon made its first sort of public appearance, to where we're at today, I think it's been great to kind of follow along with the progress and the process. And It's really exciting that product will be coming to the market in Q2, and I definitely hope you're able to get lots and lots of testers using the network and using your product. So in wrapping up, I'm wondering if there's anything you want to talk about that maybe I haven't brought up yet.
I not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's the best way that people can keep up to date with you and with Archon?
At the end of this month, so it'll be our website, which is archon.cloud. But currently, we haven't updated our website yet. But at the end of the month, when we roll out our beta, it's going to be completely redesigned, and that will be the best way to keep up to date.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us at the Neo News Today podcast, Kevin.
Cool.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah,
right.
this has been pretty cool.
Awesome. Have a good day.
Cool. Thank you. You too. Bye.
Well, what did you guys think of that episode? It was great to get some of Kevin's time and to learn more about Archon and its upcoming beta launch in Q2 of 2020. It was also interesting to learn about Archon's 2 points of contact, a centralized and a decentralized point, and how the team has built its decentralized platform to outlive the company should they be acquired or fold or anything of that nature. And I always find it interesting to hear why a project or development team opted to build on Neo as opposed to using other public blockchains. To keep up to date with ecosystem news, please visit www.neonewstoday.com and feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive the latest NNT podcasts as they are released. Also, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the NNT podcast, and I look forward to catching you next time.